Welcome to the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I am your host, Tracy Bloom. This is Books, Kids, and Creations, a podcast that features people who inspire and uplift future generations with their work. I am speaking with Carlos Douglas Jr. today, a phenomenal award-winning animator out of Illinois. Well, Indiana, close enough to Illinois.
Yep, right on the border.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, most of the time I interview authors who have future plans of animation projects, but you're kind of going the other way around where you have completely animated this beautiful piece called Kenya's Symphony. Tell me about how this creation came into your head. How did that kind of did it pop in? Were you listening to something, or what happened?
And so it's an interesting story because it's loosely inspired by something that I witnessed. So just how you were saying, I'm like close enough to Chicago. I was working there. I worked at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra for a little bit over a year. And at one point I was an usher, so I would sit and watch the performances, like, let everyone in. It was an interesting job for me because I'm a big fan of orchestra music. I have been since middle school. So it was like a dream job for me. And being there, there were a few things that I observed. So one of the things, a lot of the concerts, it oftentimes would have like older generations there watching the shows. You wouldn't really have a lot of younger kids coming in unless it was a concert specifically catered for kids. And one thing that I also noticed was that if kids ever did come into the show, they would be bored out of their mind, and it was something that happened where there was a night where a mom came in with her daughter, and she had to be, 5 or 6 years old. She was really young, and they happened to sit right in front of where I was standing. So they were like the very last aisle. And it was just the entire night. You could tell, like, as soon as the music began, her attitude changed. She wanted to get out of there, and she was just messing with her mom the whole time, running up and down the aisles. And this is, at a symphony concert, you can't cough, like right. It has to be dead silent. And it was one of those things, like, when I was watching this little girl, I'm just like, I totally get it. And I think that is a great basis for a story. And it was around the time that when I was in school, I was in a class where we had to create a short film, and it was perfect timing. Like, I really wanted to do a film about music, and this was the perfect gateway into that, because with me being a fan of the orchestra and, wanting to create like a relatable character to hopefully get more people interested in the genre, I thought that would be a perfect idea.
It's amazing. Well, it's perfect. And as I was watching the video of it, I had this instant flashback to when I was a kid. My parents took us to go see the Nutcracker.
Oh, yeah.
And prior to that, my grandma gave me like one of those little sugar packets you find on the tables at restaurants. And I ran up and down the aisles just like that. Yep. And my parents were like furious.
100%. Yeah. So it's like we've all been there, and it's like when you're a kid, you don't really understand the beauty of some of these things where you have to sit down and just listen and enjoy, because you have so much energy and you want to do everything. And it's, that's you can't really blame someone at that age, but it's like, creating a story where there was a turning point in that, where she actually does find the beauty in that. That was what really worked.
Yeah, it's beautiful how you did it with just the little, she's using the little straw for her spitball cannon, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it can also look like that musical instrument there. And it's like just this beautiful turning point. It's so magical. And then just how it just transitions to her being so excited. It's such a wonderful piece, but I thought, how long did something like this take to create? I mean, because at the end you see all the names involved in bringing it to life. And I went, how long did it take for you to take it from concept to creation?
So it took about a year and a half. So 3 semesters while I was in school. And it was a project that I was working on mostly, and I did most of the animation. I did a lot of, I created the story from the ground up. And a lot of the names that you see, they were also in school at the same time. So it wasn't like we had a huge team. It would be a situation where if I was animating and I didn't have time to finish this shot up by the end of the week, can you help me color this? Can you help me do the rough animation?
So
And
cool.
a lot of the backgrounds, like the beautiful backgrounds, my friend Lillian, she was great with that. So I had some help along the way, and then of course I with the music, I knew that was something I could never do because I'm not a musician. I played piano for a year, I think, when I was maybe 5. I was really young. And so I'm just a big fan of the orchestra. So a friend of mine who I met while I was in school, Michael Van Bodegam Smith, who is the composer for the film and for the newest album that we're releasing, he created the music, and we worked together to have a few freelancers come in and record all the music in his basement.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
one of those things, like, it was very unorthodox the way that we had to create the film. But overall, the 5-minute film took about a year and a half to do.
Isn't that phenomenal? I mean, you just look at even some of the line drawings and just everything that you have in there. I went, wow, this just had to have taken such a long time to create. But
It felt
it's
like
so
it.
beautiful. Yeah. So then you would
Yeah.
do the animation first without any music, right? And then the music was added.
Yeah, we did. It was a technique where you put temporary music into
Oh,
the reel. So, I chose a few pieces of music that I thought would fit the mood, the pacing of the story. And it was 3 different pieces that I did, like beginning, middle, and end. And that's where I started doing the animation. And then Michael, he came along pretty early in the production. A lot of times with film, the composer doesn't come until the film was pretty much done, like during post production. But I wanted him involved from the start to make sure that the music was evolving just like the animation was at the same time. And so
yeah.
that ended up really working out. So he finished the music a little bit before I finished the animation. And then after hearing some of the things that he did, that's when I started to make some changes, especially with the finale sequence. I wanted to make sure everything was timed up perfectly. And,
Yeah.
a lot of that is because the music helped to finish things off for me.
Okay. Okay. And then you talked about an album. Tell me about this
Yes.
album.
I actually have one right here. So this is the album that just came in. So and it's one of those things. I'm right now figuring out the best way to approach this, because this this album isn't included in the film. This is completely
Oh,
original music that was written after the film was made. We wanted to I asked him, it's called Kenya Symphony. And, the one thing that we really didn't get to do while we were making the film was to record with a whole orchestra. So what if we created a short symphony for kids that's
yes.
just short enough? It's only 15 minutes long. And so you can listen to it in a car ride. And this is something that tells a story. It has elements of classical music, but a lot of it is more contemporary and modern. And so it's like it has that flair to it that we're hoping, if we can get kids to listen to this, they don't have to sit down for a whole 2-hour symphony. This is something that is very quick, and it's you can follow the story beat by beat, because music usually has a story along with it.
Yeah.
But this is one that you can see, and this is one that you can relate to. There's even an intro and outro track where Kenya
Oh,
and her mom are talking to each other and having a little back and forth. So it's something that we just finished. It'll be available very soon, and it's going to be available on streaming on April 15th, so next Saturday. So
amazing.
it's very exciting. It's something that we just finished up. We went to Europe, to North Macedonia, to record the music last September, and it was something where I was really excited for that, because with working with a small budget, we had to figure out how we were going to do this. And luckily, Michael knew someone who is recorded in North Macedonia,
Yeah.
and we knew about that orchestra from one of his colleagues, and we just said, okay, well, let's have them perform the music. And I said, let's go there. So we went there and recorded the music, and then the oboe and the violin in the story, they're very important. So the violin represents Kenya, and the oboe represents Kenya's straw and her imagination. And so we recorded the soloists in California. So it was a bit of it was an interesting production, but yeah, we've recorded music from around the world, and now it's finally put together. So it's really exciting.
That's so, so cool. What an experience. Um, and as you're talking about the experience of it, I'm immediately picturing, every type of student across the world also falling in love with this music and maybe even trying. Remember when you were little, like, did you do the recorder?
Yep. And I was always bad at it.
I was too, and I just ended up
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
you could do so many like musical follow along little lesson plans for kids, especially, any age really, but younger kids for sure with this.
Yes, I would love to do that. We would really like to get the music into schools, and figure out the best audience for it. Because again, it's one of those things like I really hope that this will inspire kids to, if either if they're a musician already, or if they've never been in the arts, or never been to an orchestra concert, which a lot of us haven't. I didn't even go to one until I was in college and
Yeah.
working at a symphony. So it's one of those things. I want people to listen to this from home or in their car and be able to sort of branch out and just experience it, because it feels like a concert experience when you listen to it from start to finish. So that's the way that we wanted to
Yeah.
cater the album, and I think it's really effective, and schools would be great for it. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. So you also have a book in the works. Do you
Yes.
want to talk about the book at all? What's that process been like for you for creating your own book?
Yeah, so it's very early in the process, and this is going to be my first book. So I'm going to be writing, illustrating, and self-publishing it. So it's going to be quite a journey. I'm looking forward to it. And it also tells the same story. So right now, I'm figuring out a way to make it unique in its own right, because the film tells the same story and the album tells the same story, and the book is going to do the same thing. But now it's a matter of, I didn't really get a chance to develop the art in the film as much as I wanted to. Like I love the way that it came out, but I think it's one of those things, like when you're an artist and you care about your work, a lot of times you want to return to it and advance and get better with it. So I would love to create, like, I'm really excited to create the spreads for the book,
Yeah.
and just to be able to really take the time and develop the artwork as much as possible, get the instruments right, get and just to draw all of the characters like interacting with one another in a book
Yeah.
setting. I just think that it'll be really exciting, but pretty much at the first pass right now. It's very new. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what a talent to be able to animate it and then take it to another medium of the book. That's because I thought, like, I wonder if he's animating and also doing the artwork for the book, it would make sense that you would do it all. And so talk about the the film festivals that you've done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the film was completed in December of 2019, and I started the film festival run in January of 2020. So right before the pandemic, which was really interesting because I was only able to attend two screenings of Kenya Symphony, the film, before the pandemic hit. And then everything was all online. And it's one of those things, like, it really didn't hamper the ability for me to submit to film festivals because tons of them were online. They really started to reorient the way that film festivals were run. Just like everything became more online based, all video based. Like now, film festivals, they had to adapt in the same way. So I ended up getting the film into over 100 film festivals, and it was one of those things. A professor of mine, Julian Grant, he inspired me and my classmates to submit to film festivals. Like, even we're students, but it's one of those things, you can still do that. You can get a chance to see what the film festival circuit's like, because it's much different from, like, your standard TV and film industry. The film festival circuit is completely different. So it was a really unique time for me to submit the film, and it gave me a chance to realize that a lot of people truly connected with the story that I told. the story in the way that I really wanted, and I'm glad that it was able to connect because I saw that it had obvious success in the film festival circuit, and yeah, and it won some awards. And I think the highest point, like I was so happy it got into the New York International Children's Film Festival, and that was definitely like the icing on the cake for me. I
Oh,
was so excited about that. Um, and yeah, and from there it kind of gave itself wings. Like once I saw how successful that was, I was like, well, let's take this in a different direction. Let's do something else. So then that's where the album and the book came into play.
yeah. And think about all the, I mean, this is one experience that you have provided for your character. Think about all the other experiences. Like if you did a book series for this, you could have her experience all kinds of things and introduce children to so many other, like this is, I feel like this is like just one little door opening. I mean, big door for you, but
For sure.
I mean, there's just so much that is ahead with this. It's just so cool to be able to speak with you about it.
Yeah.
Do you have any exciting news other than what you already have going on? Things on the horizon or anything you want to talk about?
So there's a Kenya Symphony website in the works.
Okay.
I'm getting started on it, and hopefully I can offer the book there, some other merchandise, and I hope that I can also, make it be a platform where music can be shared. I haven't figured out the concept just yet, because on social media, at Kenya Symphony, I basically have been creating an account for the project, but it's also I've deemed it the hub for music appreciation. So I share a lot of music there, a lot of orchestra music, and it's one of those things now. Taking like the music education route is where I would like to go. I think that it would be really interesting to have the website have some kind of integration where people can learn things there as well
Yeah.
as be able to access Kenya. But there's a lot of things in the works. And again, the book is going to be coming out in December. So hopefully, as long as I can run that fast,
Yeah.
I think
You
that
can do
I
it.
can make it happen. Yeah, thank you. So it's one of those things. Yeah, there's a lot on the horizon, and I'm really excited for everyone to hear the music once that becomes available next week on streaming. So yeah, just a lot of exciting news.
Very cool. And I always ask everyone who comes on the show what advice they have for future generations. And this could be for people who want to do what you do or just in general.
Uh, I would say never wait for a budget. Never wait for money to come your way to be able to start creating something, because you can create something from the ground up, and rest assured, if you are really putting your time and your effort and you really want this to happen, the money will come at some point, but you need to be in your project, like whatever it may be. If you're a creative and you have an idea, don't wait on anything. Just whenever you feel like you have the spark and the creativity to do it, just do it. Like that I can really speak for myself in terms of the film. So the film was a college project, and it was one of those things like we only had to create like a 2.5 minute film, but mine is close to 5. And my professors were just like, you're not going to get this done, like I don't know what you're doing. And I kept telling them, like every week I would turn in the project, and it's like it would keep getting longer and longer, and I'm just like, I gotta tell the story. Like there's so much that I want to cram into this, but I know it's just a school project, but I really want to tell this story. And so in terms of the music,
Yeah.
again, when we did the film, it was no budget, and so I had to do everything from the animation, the storyboarding, all of that. But then the music side of it, Michael and we really developed like a great bond during the project, because we both obviously love music, and we wanted to record with a big orchestra, but we couldn't do it. So we got creative. So
Yeah.
in Michael's small bedroom in his basement, we had individual musicians come in and record their parts. So one day we would record the tuba, and we would like have
Wow.
them play their parts 4 or 5 times over and combine that to create this big symphony orchestra. So it's like we
Wow.
only had, I think, around 12 to 15 musicians total, but it sounds like it's a bigger orchestra. And that's because we worked with the budget that we had, we got creative, we made it happen. And the same thing with the album. So it's, you know, I wanted to figure out the best way to do this. And when I looked at orchestras in the US, it was way too expensive. So we
Mhm.
got creative again and we said, okay, let's, if we got to travel for this, we will travel for it and we'll make it happen. And now we have a full orchestra like the dream team, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really one of those things. I just think that waiting to get the opportunity or the money for it, like I don't ever want that to be a hindrance for people because it's like, you know, it might not turn into the project that you were originally anticipating, but it'll be something that you're proud of if you really, you know, make it happen. So
Yeah, great advice. Well, Carlos, it's been such a pleasure having you here today. And
thank
I'm
you.
so excited for all that you have created and all that you have yet to come. So thank you so much for being here. We will post a link to your social media. And everyone, please go follow him. This is such a beautiful, beautiful piece. And yes, thank you for being here.
And thank you, Tracy. This was great. And again, I was really honored that you chose me to have me on your show. This is really great. So thank you so much.
Thank you.